it's Allie, and today we are going to be talking about generating story ideas, or more specifically, categorizing and building pre-existing story ideas. For those of you who don't already know, in addition to my YouTube channel, I also own and operate a website called wordhamster.com, which is an online learning community for young writers with courses and contests and all of that fun stuff. I am this month going to be launching my second free contest on Wordhamster and also just kind of around social media in general, and it's going to be superhero themed. I'm not actually going to say much about the actual theme itself yet, but the last one was magic themed, this one is superhero themed, which is very exciting. And so I thought for today's video it would be fun to take a look at one of the lessons and courses that I cover in the Young Writer's Toolkit, which is all of the tools a young writer needs to get started. And I thought today would be a good day to talk about generating story ideas, so let's go. Something I really enjoy doing in my courses is creating or addressing pre-existing categories in different elements of the writing process. I firmly believe that writing is as much an art form and a creative outlet and a talent as it is a skill, and so you can't completely base your writing experience on just one or the other. And so while it is impossible for me to create a course where I tell students the right way to write, it is possible for me to give and address categories that help young writers to establish and organize, kind of understand the things that they're already doing and the things that they already have, and also giving them the opportunities and the tools of other things that they might not have thought about or something that they might want to branch out and try. So that is the kind of theory behind why I do this kind of categorization. It's not just because I'm a nerd, which is partly why, but yeah, so this is a way of categorizing the story ideas that you might come up with through a brainstorming session, which brainstorming is obviously a very popular way to come up with story ideas. But rather than just saying, here's your story idea and there you go, this is a way of categorizing and building those story ideas so that you have a better understanding of where your starting point is and how you can move on from there, whether you do it in a more pantser kind of way where you just take the idea and run with it, or if you then start planning based on that more fully fledged story idea. So let's get started. I go way deeper into all of these categories in the actual course itself, but for a very broad and brief overview, I believe that most brainstorming ideas generally are going to fall under four different categories. Number one, character-based ideas are, as you can probably guess, ideas that are based fundamentally on character. So you might have a story idea that's like hardworking basketball player, and that in and of itself mostly is just showing you the character that you want to follow their story. You want to see what this character story is about, but the idea in and of itself doesn't necessarily say much about the plot or the themes or any of the things that is going to really flesh out this story, just the fact that this is the character you want to follow. The second category is plot-based ideas, and these are ideas that follow specific events that you think might end up happening in an overall story, something like a championship game, or they might be an idea based on a suggested plot arc, like reclaiming a stolen throne, or finding a magical item and bringing it to a location. So either one of those would count as something that is more plot-based because it doesn't suggest character, it also doesn't suggest the themes or the concepts or any of the kind of story elements that are going to be taking place in this story, just that these things are going to happen. The third and kind of fourth category of story idea is a concept or a theme-based story idea. So the reason why these are kind of separated is because concept ideas are mostly rooted in something broad, like just genre, like wanting to write a dystopian, or just based on certain story elements that you want to include. So if you mostly have an idea based on a specific kind of magic that you want to include, like the power to turn back time, or if it's something that is more story element based that is not dependent on your main character, but is just something that exists within the world, like vampires, you're going to have a story that includes vampires, then that would be more of a concept-based idea, and a theme-based idea is very similar, but it is mostly based on a message that you want to either explore or send a particular stance on through the course of the story. So responsibility or teamwork. If your idea is based primarily on this is the message I want to send, then that would be a theme-based idea. So they're similar but still kind of different. So it's like kind of two, kind of one different types of categories. The reason behind categorizing story ideas this way is that it gives writers, and myself included, a basis of where the story is really finding its roots, and also what things I might want to pick and choose to beef up that story idea and really flesh it out before I actually start writing or start planning, whatever the case may be. I tend to start a lot of times with character-based ideas, and so with a character-based idea like our hardworking basketball player example from before, the first thing that I'm going to think about is what kind of plot and what kind of story I'm going to be taking this character through, what kind of story this character is trying to tell. And so I might choose something like a plot event, like maybe a championship game. So that would be my first step towards fleshing out the story idea to really help me have some direction when I start writing. But the reverse also works just as well. If you start with the plot-based idea of a big championship game, then logic follows that you're going to need some characters who are players in that game. And if it is a basketball game, then you're going to need some basketball players. And there we go. Same thing occurs. Maybe throw in a theme about teamwork, and you're ready to start writing, you're ready to start planning, you're ready to start doing whatever you want to do with this story. You have the different elements that you need to at least have a general sense of where you're going with this. Now, if we start with those themes and concepts instead, then we need to kind of do double duty in order to make a full story idea out of this. We need to figure out the plot and the character rather than just one or the other and maybe adding theme. We have the themes of teamwork, responsibility, and also maybe throw in that plot element of being able to turn back time because this is our story and we can do what we want. So if we use those ideas, we might think, all right, well, what is a good way of representing teamwork in a story? Well, sports. Sports is a good opportunity, so let's think of some kind of story that has to do with sports. And we want our plot element of turning back time. So maybe we have a basketball player. They're a very hardworking basketball player, and they have this big championship game that they are working towards throughout the course of the story. But suddenly they find that they have the power to turn back time. And so in order to help their teammates, there's that teamwork theme, they start using their new powers to turn back time and help their teammates win every single game. So this team, which maybe wasn't a very good team at first, is now in the championships because of this one character's new ability. But maybe when we throw in that responsibility theme there, they realize during the championship that it isn't fair to cheat, and sometimes teamwork includes teamwork with your rivals, and so they don't use their power to win the championship. Maybe they win, maybe they lose, whatever you want to do with that story. But now we have a story that encapsulates all of those themes and also includes those story elements that we wanted to include through our concept-based ideas. So that is how you would kind of generate those kind of ideas. But now, look at how much we have on this story idea, how much information that we have that we didn't have before when we were just dealing with teamwork and just dealing with basketball. It's much more fleshed out now, and whether you are a pantser who's just going to take that idea and run with it, or if you're a planner who is now going to take that more fully fledged story idea and really hammer out all of the details of each of those elements, then no matter what you're going to do, you have a much better foundation, I guess, of where you're going to take this story before you get started on the next part of the process. And the reason why you're able to do that is because you categorized and built this story idea from something very small at the very beginning. And that is how I build and categorize my story ideas and how I teach my students to do the same. So I hope that any of you watching this video, if you are my student, this has been a good refresher, or if you're not one of my students, that this has given you some new perspective, or maybe a new tip, or maybe just helped you in some way, shape, or form with your own generating of story ideas. I am going to be announcing officially the new contest soon, so be on the lookout for that free contest later this month. I have some fun prizes in mind, so do keep an eye and an ear out. And other than that, that is it for me this week. If you liked this video, do leave it a like, and if you like my content, do subscribe. I make videos every Friday, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hamster.